Washing, cutting, dicing, chopping, drying, every day thousands of pounds of food are processed in this large warehouse in southwestern Ontario. And while this isn't a full-fledged commercial food processing plant, the product that these volunteers are making will feed millions all over the world. You see, there's an old saying that one person's waste is another person's treasure. And in the case of the Ontario Christian Gleaners, that explains their ministry to a T.
What we do is we bring surplus vegetables here to our building distribution.
Shelley Stone, manager of the Ontario Christian Gleaners operation.
With the use of volunteers, we trim them all up, dice them, dry them into a nutritious soup mix that we use to feed hungry people in developing countries.
Founded on the Bible's Leviticus chapter 19, verse 9, the Ontario Christian Gleaners' mission is to supply outreach organizations with a lightweight, economical soup mix that can be easily transported to needy countries. But while the work the Gleaners do has fed many all over the world, the food used to make this ministry possible comes from an unlikely place: your local farmers' rejected produce.
Why should produce go to waste if somebody can use it? Like we just have to turn it into a different form.
This is Don Almas. For 60 years, his family has grown cauliflower and broccoli in southwestern Ontario. But with the rainy summer season, Don says only 66% of his crops will actually get to the grocery store this year.
We do what we have to do to save the crop, and then sometimes it is still too wet, and some things still drown. So, I mean, there's not too much we can do about that.
And therein lies the problem. With a third of his crop gone, the pressure to sell all of his produce heightens as we, the consumers, determine if his produce sells or not. You see, even in the world of food, looks are everything.
Well, the Canadian consumer has demanded perfect-looking produce and been able to demand it. We don't want a cauliflower with a mark on it. We don't want an apple with a mark on it, anything like that.
So with high expectations set on Canadian growers and competition from all over the world, many farmers have gotten used to having their produce rejected. And the financial hit can be detrimental as they're forced to till unwanted produce back into the soil. But in the fall of 2008, Don and many farmers in the area were introduced to a new organization that has given farmers a new purpose for their rejected produce. We're in a cooler where tons of produce is brought every day, which is otherwise refused by grocers because of blemishes or discoloration. But the Christian Gleaners have found an innovative way to save what would otherwise be lost.
It's wonderful for them to not feel like they have to dump it back in the field when it's really a usable product. And they know that there's hungry people. So they're glad to be able to send it to us. We can give them a tax receipt for the fair market value of that. And so it works really well on both sides.
So the Ontario Christian Gleaners has become a great alternative for many farmers looking for a place to donate their surplus and rejected crop year-round.
Sometimes it's bruised, sometimes it's the wrong color, sometimes it's the wrong size. A pepper that's green and red on the same pepper, you hardly ever see that at the grocery store, but they exist. Nutritionally, they're still fine. Great for the gleaners. We get cabbages that are this big and cabbages that are this big. You don't see those in the grocery store. They come to the gleaners. They work very well for us. This cauliflower is not quite white enough that we're chopping up today. We're at the point where farmers actually tie their cauliflower closed to keep them white. Nutritionally, they're still fine in the way that we're using them, but it's just that the Ontario market has become that particular.
But if it wasn't for the over 40 volunteers that also keep this operation going by chopping up tons of produce each day, Shelley knows Christian Gleaners would be non-existent.
Well, you know, only 34 out of 100 people in the world have enough food to eat. The rest don't. And we have so much extra here that is perfectly good. Most consumers don't realize what waste we have here. And we call it waste because it gets dumped back in the field, but it's not really waste, it's perfectly good. So we're very happy to be able to be involved in sharing, and that's why people come.
People like Ed Gringhouse and Elaine Marcus.
I just really, enjoy knowing that we can help those around the world.
It is hands-on, very practical. The need is there and it's being filled instantly. And it just is an awesome ministry to be involved in.
And for many of these volunteers, knowing that they have had a hand in creating something as simple as soup mix that will reach the far ends of the earth, filling hungry mouths, is all the payment they need.
It's really exciting to see what our product, the joy and the relief that it can bring. And we want that to be able to go with the good news of Jesus Christ. That's really important to us. That's also something else that we look for in the organizations that we allow to distribute on our behalf. But I get the most wonderful emails. I hear the most wonderful stories. Even just last night, about 11 o'clock, got an email of our product had landed in Ghana. Currently, we have product in about 8 different countries in Africa. And this missionary is using it to feed refugees. People have been dying every day in this refugee camp, and now they have this, which will provide some relief. I mean, it's just so wonderful to be a part of that.
Euroevangelism is just one of those outreach organizations that the Ontario Christian Gleaners has partnered with. And Brian Lise, Euroevangelism's executive director, has witnessed firsthand the desperation many children are in when they come seeking a bowl of soup.
Well, I remember 3 years ago, Maggie, I was in Albania, and I remember having lunch with about 70 kids at 11:30 in the morning, and then with another 70 kids at about 12:30 in the early afternoon. And I remember the kids, a lot of them were not very clean, a lot of them came from very, very needy homes. And one situation that was brought to my attention when I was there, Maggie, was a little boy would come, he would rush his soup, he would rush eating his bread and things, and then he would rush away. And a couple of minutes later, his sister would come and eat her soup and the bread. And the director said to them, "Why are you rushing away like this?" And they said, "Well, it's very wintry out right now, and I have to go home," the little boy said, "to give my sister the shoes that I'm wearing, because we only have one pair of shoes between them." And so it just really, really hit home when I saw the situation and saw the need, that the dried vegetable soup mix was such a blessing to boys and girls.
And according to Don Almas, simply knowing that his produce, which was rejected in this country, can help someone else in another, is all that he needs to hear.
Somebody can use this for something I'm going to throw away. So let's utilize it.
For more information on the Ontario Christian Gleaners, go to our website at crossroads.ca. In Galt, Ontario, Magdalene John, 100 Huntley Street.